New York Times best-selling author Ta-Nehisi Coates. His new book, The Message, is a trio of interconnected...
I saw a clip of this. It's the guy... Just watch.
Essays that examine how the stories we tell or avoid telling can shape and even distort our reality. In the book, Coates reflects on his emotional first trip to Africa to visit Dakar, Senegal. Then he takes readers to Columbia, South Carolina, where he reports on the attempted banning of one of his books on race. And finally, Coates travels to the Middle East to witness the Israeli-Palestinian conflict firsthand. Ta-Nehisi Coates, good morning. How you doing?
Thanks for having me. Good morning, guys.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. You say that this book is written specifically for writers, stating that the task for young writers should be nothing less than changing the world. Why do you feel like writers should bear that responsibility?
Saving the world. Saving the world. Just to be really specific. Writing is how we interpret so much of everything that is around us. The Message is a political book. It argues that much of our politics actually happens before we walk into a voting booth, that our choices around us, that who we believe is human, who we don't believe is human, what policies we believe should be in the world, which policies we don't.
Hard to disagree
actually
with.
Shaped largely by writing and the stories we tell. And
No
so I believe
spoilers,
that writers, and
Bezelba.
particularly young writers, have so much to do in the politics and in this time when, you know, obviously we have so much conflict and there's so many quote-unquote issues to be dealt with.
Ta-Nehisi, I want to dive into the Israel-Palestine section of the book. It's the largest section of the book. And I have to say, when I read the book, I imagine if I took your name out of it, took away the awards and the acclaim, took the cover off the book, the publishing house goes away, the content of that section would not be out of place in the backpack of an extremist.
Remarkable stuff right off the bat. I guess my association, I don't watch like cable news, you know, but my association like CBS Mornings is that for the most part, this is like a fairly level-headed program. Not to say it's not, you know, subject to the normal rigmarole of liberal propaganda and framing, but I don't normally think of it as like you go on to promote your book and this guy's like, yeah, this is like a Hamas terrorist instruction manual or something to that effect.
And so then I found myself wondering, why does Ta-Nehisi Coates, who I've known for a long time, read his work for a long time, very talented, smart guy, leave out some...
Sorry, not cable, broadcast. Yeah. But like it's like a morning show, right? Even Fox News in the morning is relatively, you know, tolerable in comparison. Like the shows they run in the morning are a hell of a lot more light. It's not like Tucker Carlson, you know, they save that shit for the night.
So much. Why leave out that Israel is surrounded by countries that want to eliminate it? Why leave out that Israel deals with terror groups that want to eliminate it? Why not detail?
What an insane thing that, like, you're not even going to talk about the content of the book. You're like, well, why didn't you mention, like, Hezbollah? What does that mean? You could, like, people don't know? Like, what info in the book are you responding to? Why didn't you spend enough time talking about the Houthis? What does this have to do with anything? Why didn't you condemn Hamas? This is essentially just, why didn't you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn Hamas?
Tell anything of the first and the second intifada, the cafe bombings, the bus bombings, the little kids blown to bits. And is it...
Why didn't you talk about these events that happened like 20 years ago? You know, not even responding to like the content of the book. Just like, why didn't you mention everything bad an Arab has ever done?
Because you just don't believe that Israel in any condition has a right to exist?
That was literally like open. Oh, let me hit you with an opening question. Do you condemn Hamas? No, I know you don't condemn Hamas. Your language is indistinguishable from a terrorist. Why didn't you bring up 76 historical events in which Arabs did bad things? You know, here's like 57 buzzwords you have to respond to. Insane shit. Least biased American media. It's embarrassing. Genuinely, it is.
Well, I would say the perspective that you just outlined.
I love this guy, by the way. I love him so much because he knows exactly what he's... I doubt he came here knowing he'd be received with that level of bad faith antagonism, but him responding just, all right, okay. I see what I'm dealing with right now.
There is no shortage of that perspective in American media.
Chef's kiss, fantastic. I mean, he was given a million questions. You can't answer with a million words. Solid response right there.
That's the first thing I would say. I am most concerned always with those who don't have a voice, with those who don't have the ability to talk. I have asked repeatedly in my interviews whether there is a single network, mainstream organization in America with a Palestinian American bureau chief or correspondent who actually has a voice to articulate their part of the world. I've been a reporter for 20 years. The reporters of those who believe more sympathetically about—
Not only is there not, Rashida Tlaib got censured by both Democrats and Republicans for speaking up for Palestinian people, and Mehdi Hassan got knocked off MSNBC for being too pro-Palestinian. The media bias on this is genuinely insane. It is legitimately, you can be closer to like mainstream power by being essentially openly pro-Nazi than you can be by being like openly pro-Palestinian. Literally, who's that congressman who was like doing like a jerk-off circle with Nick Fuentes for a while? I mean, a bunch of people in the Republican Party at this point have been associated with Nick Fuentes. Like Donald Trump had dinner with him. But who was the Gosar? Yeah, Gosar. That guy. That guy's a neo-Nazi.
Israel and its right to exist don't have a problem getting their voice out. But what I saw in Palestine, what I saw on the West Bank, what I saw in Haifa in Israel, what I saw in the South Hebron Hills, those were the stories that I have not heard. And those were the stories that I was most occupied with. I wrote a 260-page book.
And you could do this exact same bit, by the way, with like black people in any part of America. Like, I bet this guy considers himself a liberal, as many Zionists do, in spite of the fact that liberal, like Zionism is at this point manifestly a fascist ideology. It was always a settler colonial ideology in practice. People love to abstract Zionism as like, oh, you're anti-Zionist? You don't think that Jews have a right to be safe? You. Zionism in a meaningful political context today is about the state of Israel and its ongoing genocide and like, you know, settler colonial expansion. Don't pretend that this is like the same thing Nazis do, where they're like, oh yeah, I don't support like what Hitler did. I just believe in the abstract concept of self-determination for white people. We know what you support, man. We know what you support. Okay? So this guy probably considers himself a liberal. You know, if I was a more learned individual, I might know this guy's name, but I don't. I'm sorry. I know that he's wearing a knit tie with a, worsted business suit, which is with a white dress shirt, which is interesting. I mean, normally a tie that casual, you would pair it with like tweed or like a textured shirt, at the very least, like a striped shirt, something. But I mean, so clearly he has bad taste in matters of both politic and dress. I like it though. That's okay. I don't come to you, Random Pug, for your dress opinions. I'm sorry. I transposed a little bit too much antagonism from this guy who I hate to you, Random Pug, who I don't hate, who I have nothing against. I apologize. No, so true though. Okay, well, it's been endorsed then. Anyway, you know, I bet this guy considers himself a liberal, as many Zionists do, but you could do this exact same bad faith bullshit with, like, I don't know, the mistreatment of black people in Georgia or South Carolina in the United States. You could do this like, oh, well, you provided the perspective of black people who are complaining about racism, but what about white people in the cities who are tired and of black people like shooting each other, whatever. Like it sounds like when you hear it said like that, it's like, oh, well, obviously that's an unhinged right-wing screed, but he just did the same thing with Zionism. There are so many Zionists who consider themselves ideologically liberal, but then as soon as it's about Zionism, instantly, like, every talking point shifts, the like underlying reasoning shifts, and you're just spitting the same insane fascist shit.
It is not a treatise on the entirety of the conflict between the Palestinians and the Israelis.
But if you were to read this book, you would be left wondering, why does any of Israel exist? What a horrific place.
My problem with your book is that when you engage with the perspective of Palestinians, it becomes very difficult to justify the existence of Israel.
Committing horrific acts on a daily basis. So I think the question is central and key. If Israel has a right to exist, and if your answer is no, then I guess the question becomes, why do the Palestinians have a right to exist? Why do
Notice, why does Israel have a right to exist versus why do the Palestinians have a right to exist? Welcome back, Adolf Hitler. Died 1945, born whenever the this guy was born. Literally, it's again, you think you're ideologically liberal, and then instantly everything why do Palestinians have the right to exist? Well, I think all humans have the right to exist, actually. I mean, if they're alive already. I don't think every wiggly little sperm cell in my ball sack has a right to exist, I guess. But, you know, once they're born, you're like, yeah, you know, that seems fair.
20 different Muslim countries.
My answer is that no country in this world establishes its ability to exist through rights. Countries establish their ability to exist through force.
This guy's killer, man. This guy's on that shit. This guy's freezing time in between, like before every response, so that he can like lock in on the optimal, like short, quippy way of responding. It's incredible. He's being quippy, but he's not oversimplifying it. He's just instantly cutting to the heart of the conflict. This is a incredible skill. Is he consulting with you? Do not denigrate this man. He is more talented than me. Don't bring him down, you know. I could tell him his suit is too tight. Maybe that's where my help begins and ends.
As America did. And so I think this question of right to Israel does exist. It's a fact. The question of its right is not a question that I would be faced with any other country.
But you write a book that delegitimizes the pillars of Israel. It seems like an effort to topple the whole building of it. So I come back to the...
By criticizing our fascist settler colonial project, you really make it seem like you don't like it. You don't even want it to exist. Would it be bad of me to say that I don't?
question, and it's what I struggled with throughout this book. What is it that so particularly offends you about the existence of a Jewish state that
literally this guy? I haven't read the book. I bet you it's full of like a billion perspectives and arguments that make this answer. Like, to him, this guy could see the suffering of an infinite number of Palestinians, and he would shrug it off. And then he would still have the audacity to ask, like, okay, but like, why? Why do you disagree with this abstract notion of a Jewish state? Like, I just poured through 250 pages of blood and toil and suffering and oppression and apartheid and misery, but like, that's immaterial to me because that blood was Palestinian blood. What I'm concerned with is this lofty abstract ideal of a state. Because I'm a fascist. That's what fascists like to do. To a fascist, blood waters the soil for the state to grow, you know? To them, like, the people live in service of the state. And for him, you know, the idea of people suffering and dying, it's kind of like okay, sure, maybe it happens, but what he's concerned about is the abstraction.
it is a Jewish safe place and not any of the other states.
Israel seems real safe right now, by the way.
Out there.
There's nothing that offends me about a Jewish state. I am offended by the idea of states built on ethnocracy, no matter where they are.
Muslim included.
I would not want a state where any group of people
he's good.
lay down their citizenship rights based on ethnicity. The country of Israel is a state in which half the population exists on one tier of citizenship, and everybody else that's ruled by Israelis exists on another tier, including Palestinian Israeli citizens. The only people that exist on
Muslims included, dude, just a bigot. He speaks identically to the way Nazis spoke to me when I debated them back in the earlier days of my channel, all the time, constantly. It's literally the back and forth. I don't think white people should get to make an ethno-state. Well, why do you hate white people? Why do you hate whiteness? I don't hate white people or whiteness. I principally disagree with the concept of an ethno-state. Okay, what about like China? What about like Congo or something? Like, if you want to forcibly diversify Congo, then you can go for it, man. I feel like they got some other problems on their mind at the moment. The forcible diversification that you're talking about here in America is immigrants coming in with money and work experience. Yeah, go get him, white boy. Calling China an ethno-state is a huge red flag. Well, as I said, I was talking to a Nazi in this hypothetical, so yeah.
that first tier are Israeli Jews. Why do we support that? Why is that okay? I'm the child of Jim Crow. I'm the child of people that were born into a country where that was exactly the case of American apartheid. I walk over there and I walk through the occupied territories and I walk down the street in Hebron and a guy says to me, I can't walk down the street unless I profess my religion.
But
I'm with another pastor. No. I want to. This is very, very important.
It is important. It is
extremely important.
Yeah, lay it down.
I'm working with the person that is guiding me is a Palestinian whose father, whose grandfather and grandmother was born in this town. And I have more freedom to walk than he does. He can't ride on certain roads. He can't get water in the same way that Israeli citizens who live less than a mile away from him can.
So, okay. So I guarantee you, because the person he's talking to is, at least with regards to Zionism, a fascist, rather than rebuking the idea that there is an apartheid system there, which he can't, it's factually the case, that is 100% the case, and rather than making apologies for it, but then saying something like, okay, but it's even worse in many Muslim countries, which would be true, by the way. Like, as unjust as Israel is to its own population, like, I don't know, if you went down to Yemen, yeah, you would probably find a lot to complain about. The difference, of course, is that we're not giving $50 quadrillion of weapons a second to Yemen, to my understanding. You know, we don't defend Yemen as the single like oasis of democracy in the Middle East. You know, slight difference there. But my guess is that he's about to say, and I swear to God this isn't pre-watched, so if I end up being correct, it's just because I'm that cool. My guess is he's about to say essentially, well, don't they deserve to be in an apartheid state? Like, don't Palestinians deserve to be apartheided?
Why is that okay?
Why is that? Why is there no agency in this book for the Palestinians?
He's so good. He's so good. He's so good. How does he know? How does he always know? That was a really dumb question? Well, no, from his perspective, it is the correct question to ask because he is a fascist. He thinks some groups of people are superior to other groups of people. So his answer is essentially like, do the Palestinians not deserve to be treated as second-class citizens? It's literally like the one-to-one. Like, of course he would say that. That's what he believes.
They exist in your narrative merely as victims of the Israelis, as though they were not offered peace at any juncture, as though they don't have a stake in this as well. What is their role in the lack of a Palestinian?
I have a very, 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 very moral compass about this. And again, perhaps it's because of my ancestry. Either apartheid is right or it's wrong. It's really, really simple. Either what I saw was right or it's wrong. I am, for instance, against the death penalty. What the person did to get the death penalty, it really doesn't matter to me. I don't care if they were selling a nickel bag of marijuana or if they were a serial killer. I am against the death penalty.
This is genuinely like such an embarrassment for CBS Morning. Can you imagine being the other two hosts of this program? You're interviewing like, as I understand it, a very well-educated and respected author, and one of your three basically just goes off making unhinged fascist arguments. Like, I read your book about how it's good to be good and how racism and apartheid are bad, and I took some serious issues with it. They're just sitting there, you know? Yeah, they're pretty quiet right now. My guess is that they're sitting there uncomfortable and feeling a bit shameful. I'm not saying they're like radical pro-Palestinian activists or anything. I just think it's pretty obvious that this is like an unacceptable... Like, he's not even talking about the book. They're not even... The point is to talk about the book. They brought him here to talk about the book. Instead, this guy's just like, okay, well, why aren't you Hitler like me? Why aren't you more Hitler like me? It's... yeah. They might also be lost in the topic. Again, it's CBS Mornings. It's very possible that the other two here are just not that, like, politically locked in, right? They might be more here for, you know, I don't know, talking with an author about their book, the thing they brought him on for.
I'm against a state that discriminates against people on the basis of ethnicity. I'm against that. There is nothing the Palestinians could do that would make that okay for me. My book is not based on the hyper-morality of the Palestinian people.
In lessons, because many people feel it's complicated. You say it's not complicated. Less than 20 seconds. What's your message?
Less than 20 seconds.
Okay, yeah, see, she like cuts in to pull the author away from the other guy, the white boy. Less than 20 seconds, Lamau. Well, they only had him on for a short length of time. The whole clip is 6:50. Either they wanted to cut this one short because it ended up going off the rails, or they only were going to have him on for 7 minutes, and then all that time was the guy debating him. The lady who just cut in, she's not debating him. She's like, please, God, like, give us a conclusion.
Seconds. I want people to read the book. Well, yeah. And I don't make the assumption that somebody would just read the book and have read nothing else about Israel-Palestine.
You're still invited to High Holidays. I'll see you at the show. I mean it, buddy.
That'll do it for us.
Thank you.
Yeah, my grandpa watches CBS Mornings and I watch it with him. Sometimes these ladies normally do book reviews and banter about pop culture shit. They're not prepared. Yeah, it's genuinely so. And it's also like the optics of it too, to an extent. And pardon me for like invoking the specter of, you know, demographic politics or whatever, but you have a black woman and a black man and a white guy, and then a black man who's the author who they brought in, and instantly the white guy is like, you know, why are you not Hitler like me? And it pulls away. The camera literally centers in on these two. It's just about them. A black man defending the idea of being anti-apartheid to a white man who unironically responds to that with, well, didn't the Palestinians deserve apartheid for what they did? Like, come on, man. Do you think Coates will get blackballed by media for this? No. He's clearly like a more, you know, he's a politically minded, a more radical author, at least in prescription and focus. I'm sure people know who he is and what he's about. I don't think he's getting blackballed by media for this. I just think it's like an embarrassing little, oh God, the white moderator literally converted Jew. He's a convert? He's a converted Jew? Oh, he is in it deep, man. Oh, man. Holy. In 2014, he announced he converted to Judaism. His 2 older children are living in Israel with their mother, his ex-wife. His ex-wife was Jewish. He converted because of her. His kids now live in Israel without him. Great. It's always the converts, and it's always embarrassing. He had a late in life circumcision. Oh my God. Well, honestly, like, then how could he not be like rabidly Zionist? He's like locked in. This is like a sunk cost fallacy thing. You're going to get part of your dick cut off. You're not going to be here defending the apartheid against Palestinians. Adult circumcision, why I made the cut, by Tony DeCopil. Okay, man. He sliced, squeezed, dripped, and was done. That's great, man. Just another day in the life of a fascist. Don't say that. He shouldn't have said that. He typed it out. I didn't type it out. He said it. I just read it out loud. That was the same guy. That was the same guy. Maybe that's why he was mad. Maybe his, like, foreskin hurt. To be clear, he was already circumcised. He got another one. I can't handle this, man. I can't deal with this. Did they just cut off the head? Medically speaking, I was already circumcised. But that's no good for God. I needed a hatafat dam brit, a drawing of blood. To remain uncut, I'm told, is to remain spiritually cut off from the Jewish people. That's the idea of the covenant. While bloodletting has always been a condition of the Orthodox and conservative wings of Judaism, Reform congregations have been willing to welcome the sexually sheathed and uninjured. Biblical law doesn't require otherwise. Neither do most of the arguments of the Talmud. But a funny thing happened on the road to gay, female, pork-friendly Judaism. The Reform movement began to ask more people to put some skin in the game. We stood in silence. I opened my towel. Hello, groin. I can't believe I'm saying this. I think this guy might actually... I think me deciding that he's a fascist might have been one of the more charitable things I've learned about this person today. You know? Like, I feel like if I had just cut it off there, no pun intended, that would have been like much... Like, we should have quit while we were ahead.